To say. Woohoo! I've had such a fun week. I've been meeting the most awesome, incredible people. So many fun networking events. I always say if I meet just one person, just one that I connect with, whatever else happens is amazing. This person right now that's coming up, I say this person, her name is Josselyne, is somebody he met along his journeys because Danny knows everybody. I mean, everybody. And here, right before she came on, there it is, baby.
There we are.
I did not know, by the way. I was just telling them. I meet the most beautiful, amazing people, through my awesome connections. And Danny connects me to so many amazing people. And I thought he was another person on your journey. And you just told me you're his sister and you found each other 4 years ago.
Right before COVID, I did a DNA test. I always was curious who my biological parents were, and I had never known who the father was. I found my mother, but she had passed away before I even found her 15 years earlier. And Danny came up on Ancestry, and then it turned out we had like 40 common Facebook friends. Bizarre.
I love that.
Small universe. Is that cool?
And I want to hear like so much about that, so we'll have to come back at another time to go over that.
That's another episode.
Another episode. All right, so my friend in New York, before we dive into it, let me just tell them a little bit about you. You are a transformative coach and course leader for over 30 years. Yay!
Woo!
An author, CEO, community activist, love it, founder of a nonprofit and coach. You have worked with all kinds of people to empower them to live the life of their dreams now, and
someday.
ultimately be I got to make sure I say this right, Joss. Unmessable with? Is that it?
You got it.
Unmessable with. All right. So let's just start at the beginning, because the one statement I said, you were going to get women and all the men listening out there, and I've never heard this one statement, so I think it's great. Overwhelm is optional. And I think most of the people before you came on, I said, what do you want to ask Josselyne? And the big thing, like, I'm going to just sum it up. Are you sure? Are you really sure?
I definitely am sure. I mean, you read a tiny bit of my bio, but that's just a tiny bit of the kinds of things that I act on and am up to. And I haven't had overwhelm. I don't remember a time when I was overwhelmed, but maybe in my 20s, maybe. But I haven't had overwhelm, and I have techniques and methodologies to destroy it, disappear it.
Okay, so you said you haven't had it since you've been in your 20s. Were you always like that you can compartmentalize and break things down, or was it a skill that you taught yourself because you're like, I don't want to feel like this anymore?
Well, honestly, it was never an issue for me. So I say in my 20s because I want to seem like I'm not like a robot and I'm somewhat human. But honestly, I don't recall a time when I was overwhelmed. And, I started doing transformative seminars when I was 11, if you can imagine. So that's 45 years of exercising the muscle of transformation. So, I'm not like a typical case study, but ever since then, I've been able to powerfully get related to reality. Now, I'm not saying I don't get hooked and I don't, kind of react from time to time, but I catch it super quick. And that's the key. It's not that you're not going to be messable with. It's how quickly can you shift from that world of reaction and survival and overwhelm and messable withness to the world of creation and vision and action from that space of creation. And that's mostly what I do with people, is I give them the opportunity to exercise that muscle so that they can live from a creation space versus a reaction space. And overwhelm is all reaction. There's nothing, if you could create anything, would you create overwhelm?
No.
No, I don't think so.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
Yeah. So it's pure reaction.
Okay. So some of the questions are coming in. and they're saying, I love this, tell Josselyne, we love that idea. But for a few of them, it seems like it's for other people, that their brains aren't wired that way. I know what you're going to say to this.
Go ahead.
So if they're in their 50s,
as
is it
I am,
possible to rewire their brains so they don't feel overwhelmed? Oh, that's sad. Every single day.
It is absolutely possible, but it's not easy. It takes discipline, and it takes practice, and it takes your word in the matter, because by yourself, you're going to default to the road more traveled, and your brain is wired to go to that default kind of reaction, survival mode, overwhelm mode, if that's your thing, right? Yeah. And that's like a road that already has been paved, so it's easier to go down that road. It takes effort and consciousness to go down the road that has trees and branches, and you got to pave that road, but it's possible. And I've done it with people, and you know, it is definitely doable, but it's not for the weak of heart. You have to be really committed and follow what you say, not your reactions, not your moods. And that takes something. It takes a courageous kind of person. It's just easier to be overwhelmed, but my God, don't you suffer in it? It's miserable being overwhelmed. Like if you had a choice, which you do, and most people don't realize that they do. And that's what my work is about, is giving people a choice. And then you got to exercise the muscle. Your muscle of creation is atrophied. Your muscle of reaction is super strong. So now give this one a rest and start exercising this one.
So much to unpack there. So, and I agree 100%, because so many people say, oh, you're always happy and joyful all the time. And then, no, I'm not. But I have a system in place to reset myself quicker. Exactly. So it's not like I don't have those other things going on. I just go, Mayday, Mayday, and I've been doing it, like you said, for years upon years. Yeah, of resetting myself. So let's go right into it, because this is a big one for you as far as your tips. Use a calendar. Get it out of your head and use a calendar. Tell me more.
If you don't use a calendar, you might as well be saying, I love being overwhelmed, because in a calendar, things are in reality. They're not in your head. Your head is where your overwhelm lives. So if you keep things in your head, then it's in the mix of all that. It's like mixing the pipes, the drinking water with the toilet water. You don't want to keep things up there. So I put everything in my calendar. I actually have a calendar workshop I do with people, and it's really to be able to create your life. So I put showering in my calendar. I put, check my emails. I put packing. I'm moving to Paris on Monday. This is a 40-year dream come true. I have packing in my calendar. I have, get the visa out, put the medicines in the luggage. Everything is in the calendar, because if it isn't, it's in my head. And that is not a place to keep anything important. And I don't only put the to-dos in the calendar, I put the why. And this is critical to overwhelm. Overwhelm is a function of a few things. One is you're not related to reality. So you just think I have too much to do. Too much is not a real thing. It's not even a number. It's just a concept that we live in and suffer. If you have a calendar, you can see exactly what there is to do. And if you have any kind of calendar, but I use a Google calendar, it's pieces, right? Yeah, look, Google's great. You can do color coding, and you can see what's where. And you can't have, in physics, two things in the same place at the same time. So there is no overwhelm in reality. There's only overwhelm in your concept or story about reality. And that's what messes with people. And overwhelm's a big thing that does mess with people. So with my one-on-one clients, this is the first thing I kill. Because if they're not using a calendar, there is no way they're going to be able to impact reality. You have to be related to reality to be able to move it.
Okay. I love you. I can't believe you're moving to Paris, because I was going to be like, wait, I'll come see you in New York.
I'm back in New York. I have parents and children here, so I can't quite just leave.
Here's the thing. I love the fact that we probably scheduled this interview 6 months ago.
It was a long time ago, yeah.
Willing to do it, even though you're moving to Paris on Monday, which shows you how organized and chilled you are.
Well, you know, I was at my chiropractor today because I'm getting all my doctor's appointments done before I leave, right? And I said, well, I want to schedule something for when I'm back in 6 weeks. So we're trying to schedule it. And the first week I'm booked. You know, my calendar is my creation. I'm creating my life. I get to say what goes in it. See, people have a calendar like, I'm not going to be run by a calendar. What are you talking about? You're the one who puts things into your calendar. So you're not going to be dominated by yourself? That's absurd. So I have people create what they're creating with the to-do. So if you have to go to the gym in your calendar 4 times a week or 3, whatever, many times, go to the gym is not very inviting. I mean, I don't know about you, but I never want to go to the gym. That sounds horrible to me. So what I do is I train my brain.
She doesn't know I've owned health clubs my entire life. Let's move on.
Yeah, well, you're a fitness expert. So for you, it occurs as an opportunity. For me, it occurs as torture.
I get it. No, I'm kidding.
Yes. But what I put, instead of go to the gym, I put create vitality, go to the gym. So the why of what I'm doing is included in my calendar.
So let's back up a little bit and recap. But the thing that's sticking out of my head. So I do write everything down for multiple reasons. One, I keep on task. It helps me stay focused because I could be a wing nut and just go all over. So when I go, no,
I like that.
It makes me stick to what I chose to do.
That's right.
Number 2, when I start writing my calendar for the next week, I go, wait a minute, I don't really want to do that. And when I see it in paper, then I can go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to do that. Like, it's there. So I understand most of it, and I do write little things like a pack and, you know, clean out the refrigerator. I'm the crazy person that people make fun of because I do write a lot down. But you schedule taking a shower, and then do you put your why because you smell? I mean, what's going on here?
I mean, I could be creating freshness or beauty or whatever you want to create. But let me tell you something. If I don't have it in my calendar, the chances of it happening are like 70% less, okay? Because I'm scheduling my day and I've got back-to-back interviews or coaching calls or whatever. So if I forget to put a shower in there, it's not going to happen. I would not have showered for this if I didn't have it in my calendar. I was busy packing, doing things, you know, it's got to be there. It doesn't take long, but if it's not physically there, where is it?
I remember something I heard when I was in my late 20s. And it was by some yogi lady. And I didn't quite know what she meant. But she said, Sandy, I know you think you have a great memory. And you don't need to write anything down. But that's a lot of extra stuff going on up in there that doesn't allow you to create the life you want to live. Now, I was in my 20s. I had no idea what she was talking about. Years later, I was like, aha, that's what she's talking about.
Yeah.
You don't have to remember, didn't I, whatever. It's right there.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, and by the way, obviously, your calendar is not the answer to everything, but it's certainly a good place to start to disappear overwhelm, because overwhelm is a function of not being related to reality, and your calendar is reality. It's like your life on a screen, on a piece of paper, because it's not in here, it's out here. And I'm not a big fan of to-do lists. My husband loves to-do lists. He like lives by them, and he's very effective with his to-do lists at work. But when it comes to personal life, it's kind of like those to-do lists go out the window.
Yeah.
So I tell my clients, if you have to make to-do lists because you're like addicted to these to-do, because people are like to-do list addicts, right?
Check it off. Yeah.
They like the checking. You can do that in the calendar, by the way. You can put tasks and do a little checkbox. It's very satisfying for those to-do list addicts. But the point is, I say every day you got to put those to-dos into your calendar with a by when, because if you don't, your to-do list never disappears. It's constantly growing. That is a recipe for overwhelm because you're not completing things. Even if you check off a box or 2 or 10, you got the next 10 or the next 20. So you take each to-do at the end of the day and put it into your calendar in a specific day and a specific time. So it exists in reality, not like someday I got to get this stuff done. There's no someday. It's a myth.
And you know what? When I do that, it causes agita.
When you do what?
When I put things off, like I start every day, I call it, I like peas, but I say I eat my peas first. Meaning the things I don't like doing so much, I do to get out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but I call it eat my peas, so I don't put it off. Because when I put things off, I get agita.
Well, that's part of that whole to-do list thing. It's like you keep moving it like to the next to-do list and the next to-do list. Nothing gets complete, so you're constantly dealing with anxiety. Anxiety is a function of also not being related to reality, having like stuff in your space. Mm-hmm. The more you complete things, the more space and peace of mind you end up with. I mean, you've seen it in your own life, but you could just test this for 2 days. Just, put everything in your calendar, do everything you said you were going to do, and you'll be shocked at the level of peace you experience, which is really kind of the point of it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Josselyne, so here's the big question I'm getting over and over again. How are you at saying no?
I'm good.
You're good?
Oh, my God, yeah. I say no to a lot of things. I mean, I get a lot of invitations, and I say no to a lot of them. And I have a company that represents actors. You know how many actors email me every day wanting representation? I say no more than I say yes, for sure, in that context. Mm-hmm. But what's guiding me, Sandy, here's the thing. The context is decisive, right? And when I say that, I'll just demonstrate it. In the context number, what is this?
1, right?
You don't have to figure it out. It's not a trick question. It just shows up as a 1. But if I say, okay, now the context is body part, what is it?
I don't understand. I'm confused.
No. Just stay right with me. If I say the context is body part, what is this in body?
1.
1 in body part?
Yeah. Your finger.
It's a finger, exactly. So it's a 1 in number, because if number's the context, you see a 1. If body part is the context, you see a finger.
Except for me, I see 1.
Yeah, well, that's because you have like stuff in your brain that we need to clean out. But no, it's like, and if I said direct, it's because you exercise too much. No, I'm just kidding.
Because I thought I was being tricked. Go ahead.
If I say direction, then what is this? If I say direction,
now I got the game up.
Exactly. Yeah. But notice nothing in reality changed. It was the same thing, whatever, right? But when you alter the context, everything alters except for you with the 1 in the finger. But for most people, everything alters in the way you see reality. Yeah. So when I say the context is decisive, it's the context that has you see what you see. So you go to maybe the same gym I do, but you see something different than I see because you have a different context that you've created around exercise. So, yeah. So what happens for people when they have overwhelm, looping back to overwhelm, is they've disconnected from the why. They've disconnected from their purpose.
Gotcha.
From their vision. And they've gotten into a reaction mode of just dealing with things, getting things done, GSD mode, where you're just, going through life and surviving. That causes overwhelm. When you're in the space of your vision, your purpose, your raison d'etre, whatever it is that you want to call it, trying to practice my French, and you're connected to that, then that makes things like that whole, as an athlete, you would know about being in the zone, and musicians or artists or everybody's experienced that flow or being in the zone. That happens when you're connected to your purpose, and that's a contextual conversation. So when you say, how do you say no, I'm very clear about the context of my life. I've created that context, so I create my life inside of that context. And if something isn't consistent with that context, I'm not going to do it. So it's pretty simple for me to say, yeah, I don't have to go, oh, should I, shouldn't I, shouldn't I, shouldn't I. I don't spend any time in that should I, shouldn't I world, because I'm clear who I am and what my life is for, because I made it up.
I'll tell you what I didn't hear ever before, and I love, and this is huge, is you not only put down what you're doing, but why you're doing it. And you rephrased it, which I am all about. Like, if you love exercise, you can just put, I'm going to exercise because you're so happy. But if you hate it, then why you're doing it really matters. And I've never seen anyone put that in your calendar, but you're probably going to want to do it more.
Well, it definitely alters how that occasion in your calendar shows up for you. So when you say eat your peas, what are your peas? What are the things you hate doing? What are those things?
Anything that's not with people, the behind-the-scenes stuff. I don't hate it. I don't hate it, Josselyne, but I'm a people person. So anytime I can talk or meet with people, I'm happy. When I'm doing, like helping
emails
or making decisions of what my website should look like, I don't care. You decide. Leave me alone. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, I get it. So why would you be working on your website? Like, what's a why that you could create that would shift the way that task occurs for you?
Because it's the first thing people see many times.
Yeah.
And
that's not a context, that's a reason. So let me work with you, because there is something that the website makes available that does speak to you, that does inspire you. So what is it that whenever you finish working on the website is going to make available that isn't available if you don't do that work?
More people will be able to reach me. I'll be able to
Great.
reach people. I'll be able to impact. I'll be able to impact more people, which I love.
So that's it. So you create, when you have to do those things, you say, creating impact. Work on the website.
I love that.
Isn't that great?
The person that's trying to get me to do it's probably got to come over and kiss you because they've been trying to, come on, Sandy, we got to work on.
Exactly, I get it. But unless it's going to be connected to what's important to you, it's going to be a drag. And you're going to have to force yourself. It'll be like walking through mud, and maybe you'll get it done. But even if you get it done, you're not going to really be satisfied because it's not going to fulfill your vision. It's just something you're doing and checking a box. That's why I hate those to-do lists, because you can check a million boxes. It doesn't mean you're connected to what you're creating.
Yeah. So Josselyne, and this is a question, I'm glad this woman asked this. How would she rephrase cooking dinner for her, wait, I got to do this, because she has air quotes, ungrateful family?
Well, I would first work on the ungrateful family conversation, because ungrateful family is a context. She's got whoever's in her family, and ungrateful is the lens through which she's looking at them. So they kind of can't win. Because if you're looking at people through an ungrateful lens, you're going to find evidence for why they're ungrateful. So I wouldn't even talk about cooking dinner. I would create a new context for her family, or for your family, whoever you are, that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
So that you could be.
Call her Sally Bell. My makeup name, Sally Bell.
Sally. So if you look at your family, you've got, a wife or a husband or children or whatever it is. Ungrateful isn't out here, it's over here with you. So they say things, they do things, and you go, they're so ungrateful. Now, I'm not saying it's not a valid view. It's just not the truth. If you like air quotes, I'll go right with you. It's not the truth. It's a possible view that is coloring your relationship to them. And quite honestly, I mean, if I were coaching you, Sally, I'd say it's killing your relationship with them, and it's not worth it. It's just not worth being right about how ungrateful they are. So you'd have to kind of look at, okay, what are they doing that I'm calling ungrateful? And not be so attached to being right on this one. Be more attached to being free.
You know what's really funny is I love a lot. I love to do a lot of things. Cooking is not one of them. But my
My
family.
daughter's a chef, so I sit back
Yeah.
now. I don't even bother because I know
Yeah.
she's the master.
But my husband's very picky, but my son, who's leaving for college, well, no, he's so grateful for everything I cook that it makes me want to cook more. Whatever I make him, he says, "Oh, thank you, Mom. I really appreciate it." And it brings, I'm thinking of that. So I want to cook more, even though it's not my favorite thing to do, because they're so appreciative.
And that's great, and you're lucky because you have a son that says that. Some people don't, like Sally,
Yeah.
doesn't have, kids that are saying that. So here's what I coach people in, is not having to depend on those kind of external things, because then you're still reacting. So and I know it doesn't seem like you are, but even your good reactions are reactions in that world, because if he says thank you, you're like, oh, okay, now I will. That's you being a leaf in the wind of external things versus you being able to bring joy to what you're doing, no matter what the reaction. That's being unmessable with.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to happen soon because my son's leaving for college and my husband is not that way. So,
well, you can make reservations, but instead of chicken parmesan, make some reservations.
no, and but I love that. You're right. I am, because I light up when he says it, and then it's like whoosh, versus I should bring joy to it even if I don't get that.
Yeah, because ultimately it's just a dopamine hit. If somebody acknowledges you, it's like, ooh, but that wears off. That's not sustainable. If you develop the muscle of creation and bringing joy to what you're doing versus getting it out of it, getting joy out of a situation, that kind of life is reactionary. If you're going to be somebody who brings joy to a situation, I don't care where you are. You could be at Starbucks, you could be at the car dealership, and then joy is there because you were there and you created that.
Josselyne, it's such a small thing, but it's a huge thing. It's a huge thing.
It is.
And I do believe that. I believe life doesn't happen to you, you happen to life. But you're taking it a whole nother step, because I do believe you show up and you decide how you want to show up. But even in your cooking, if it's not your favorite thing to do, if you're going to do it, how can you find joy in it?
Or outsource it. Like there are Cook Unity. We order Cook Unities so that I don't have to cook, and the kids get to eat great meals. And, if there's things you're doing that you're just like, oh, I hate doing this. Okay, well, find a way not to do it if you can. And if you don't have the budget, but Cook Unity is like $11 a meal. I mean, you're probably spending that cooking and hating every minute of it. So cut it out. Stop being a martyr. Get your husband to cook. I got my husband and I are going to do a cooking class in Paris because I'm going to be working, because all my clients wake up by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Paris time. So I'll be working late. He's taking 6 months off. The new game is you get to cook. So, nothing is fixed in stone. It's all etched in sand. So now what are you creating right now?
Yeah. Josselyne. All right, listen, we got to back up a little bit here. You are who, I love you. But let's go through a little more about what you do. Because we did mention, you're an author, you're a CEO, community activist, but you said you're a coach, but then you said you also represent theater people. So
well, I started my management company 25 years ago in order to support people to have the career of their dreams after I made my childhood dream come true of being a singer, getting a record deal, and having a #1 record. That was 30 years ago, okay? And that was because of a transformative program. So at the same time that I wanted to empower artists to create the career of their dream, I also wanted to empower just people to create the life of their dreams. So I started leading transformative work more than 30 years ago, and I've been coaching people for more than 30 years, both leading programs, designing programs, and one-on-one coaching, group coaching. So I have a world that I've created around this whole concept of being unmessable with. It's called the art of being unmessable with. So I offer also the calendar workshop, which is a downloadable thing. I have free things. I have, 5-day programs. I have 5-week programs. I have 6-month programs. I mean, I have all sorts of stuff, but it's all inside of my mission to empower people to live the life of their dreams now, not someday, and be unmessable with in the process.
Who couldn't use that, Josselyne? Who
That's
couldn't
what
use
I'm
that?
saying. That's exactly my point. And I think people deserve to have access to developing those muscles. Could you imagine as a fitness expert, if people were just like, well, I just can't. And they can.
Yeah.
There's a way, and you have a way for them to be able to develop those muscles that have been atrophied, but they don't see it. Most people don't see it, and they think unmessable with is like being tough or something. That's not what it is. It's about being able to create no matter what life is throwing at you. It's not about having perfect circumstances. It's not about having a grateful child. It's about you can create no matter what with anyone at any time from your vision, from your dreams,
I love it. By the way, your brother Dan just said to say hello.
Hey, Danny.
I'm sad because we have to go. It's very sad, but I'm glad we got this in.
Me
I'm
too.
sure we could have worked it out from Paris.
Oh, yeah.
But you must be so stoked. You must be so stoked.
I am stoked, but today I had a little bit of a context breakdown because I started getting nervous. And I was like, why am I getting nervous? Like this, I was getting messable with, and then I had to do my own medicine on myself. I had to stop and look at what was actually happening and then represence my dream. I'm fulfilling my dream. But I started getting worried about my parents who are 90 and 92 and my kids, and my kids are fine. But like I literally was like having a whole conversation, should I? And the minute I say should, it's a red flag for me because I don't say that. So I stopped. I got on the phone with somebody who coaches me. I was like, okay, talk me off the ledge here. And I got right back into my dream source, about creating magic and miracles. So it really is forever. There's no top to the mountain of mastery of being unmessable with.
Absolutely not. I was going to say every coach that I love has a coach or a mentor, whatever you want to call it, therapist, guide, whatever. Okay, so it's just you and your honey bunch moving?
Yep.
And now everybody has a place in Paris to visit.
That's right. We do have a second bedroom. We weren't sure if my youngest, who's graduating high school, just like yours, right? We weren't sure if she was going to go to school in Paris or here, so we got a 2-bedroom just in case.
And what is she doing?
She's going to go to LaGuardia for film here in New York. She's staying here with my son, who's taking a gap year. He's in his 3rd year, or he'll go into his senior year, so he decided to take a gap year for a year. So I'm like, sayonara, like, make sure you feed the cats. Have a nice time. You can catch me on WhatsApp. But my oldest daughter, who's 27, she's going to be watching out for them. She's married.
Okay. All right, Josselyne, how can they find you, reach you, besides wanting to stay with you in Paris? Tell us everything.
Well, on Instagram, I'm Be Unmessable With. And my website is theartofbeingunmessablewith.com. So that's the best way to find me. And I have something for everybody, but that calendar thing that we talked about is literally $19 on my website. It's a joke. It's a 45-minute workshop to train you to do that. And that's a game changer for people, that context thing that you saw.
I love you.
I love you.
I really do.
Dude, so great being with you. Let's do it again.
Yeah, seriously, this is like incredible. And for those people, I'm already getting it. Don't you worry. Don't worry if you missed it from the beginning. When we're done, I'm going to record this. And then I will put it on all platforms. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I don't know if I missed something. TikTok.
Yes, I have to learn how to do that.
Doesn't matter. It'll be everywhere. And Josselyne and I would both really appreciate it if you like it and rate it and spread the word, right?
Definitely.
Okay, people. Hey, I got something to say. Josselyne definitely had something to say. And until next time, you know what I'm going to say. Toodles. Thanks, Josselyne.
Thank you.
Now the internet says no. It won't hang up. It's like she's got one more thing to say. It really, it's like it won't end. But now it did. Bye,
Okay.
Josselyne.
Bye. Take care.